Nick Vujicic spielt Golf, Fußball, er schwimmt und er ist ein Surfer. Und manchmal reitet er auf einem Pferd. Nur Nick Vujicic hat keine Arme und keine Beine. Und trotzdem sagt er, ich liebe mein Leben. Gleich ist er bei mir zu Gast, einer der beeindruckendsten Menschen, die ich kenne. Bleiben Sie dran. Herzlich willkommen im Hof mit Himmel. Herzlich willkommen, Nick Vujicic.
Thank you so
Schön,
much.
dass Sie da sind.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much.
Wie kann ich Sie denn begrüßen? Ich kann Ihnen ja nicht die Hand geben.
Give me a hug.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sie sind auf der ganzen Welt unterwegs und arbeiten als Motivationsredner. Was motiviert Sie? Was ist Ihre Motivation?
Well, you know, in life, you always have a choice, either to be angry for what you don't have or be thankful for what you do have. And because of my attitude that I believe my parents really instilled in me, but overall my faith in God, that He's given me just such peace and comfort to know that He's always with me and that He loves me and He has a plan for my life. That's the greatest motivation, to know that there is a greater reason as to why I'm here.
Normalerweise gehen ja Menschen mit Behinderung nicht an die Öffentlichkeit. Sie tun es trotzdem und Sie motivieren noch Menschen, die jetzt keine sichtbaren Behinderungen haben. Warum?
You know, I'm actually not too, uncomfortable around people in the public. As a child, many kids would tease me and, laugh at me at times. But I also am very thankful that I grew up in Australia, where the culture was, my parents were not ashamed of having me out in public as well. And I'm very aware of, the different cultural sort of differences across the world, where some parents don't know exactly, should they hide the child, should they let them out, and then if they get teased, are they going to protect the child from that, or, just godly wisdom in, just first of all, knowing that your child is a child of God. Second of all, to know that unfortunately the unwanted attention will always be there, but by the grace of God, that can be turned around for good. And I think it's great for people with disabilities to go out there and not be ashamed of how they look. And I always tell people, whether they have a disability or not, when the world says, you're not good enough, get a second opinion and hear about what God has to say about you.
Sie haben gesagt, dass Ihre Eltern eben sich nicht geschämt haben für Sie und für die Behinderung, aber am Anfang war es natürlich schon erstmal ein Schock, den es zu überwinden galt. Als der Vater nämlich von Nick Vujicic, übrigens ein Pastor, nach der Geburt erfährt, dass sein Sohn ohne Arme und Beine auf die Welt gekommen ist, bricht er erstmal zusammen. Die Familie braucht natürlich Zeit, um sich mit diesem Schicksal abzufinden.
Nick Vujicic kommt 1982 in Melbourne, Australien, zur Welt. Doch statt Freude ist das vorherrschende Gefühl Schock. Nick hat weder Arme noch Beine. Seine Mutter braucht 4 Monate, bis sie ihn in den Arm nehmen kann.
Ich dachte, das ist ein schlechter Traum. Ich dachte, ich wache jede Minute auf und alles ist vorbei. Ich war nicht sicher, ob ich es schaffe, ihn mit nach Hause zu nehmen und mich um ihn zu kümmern.
Nachdem sie ihren ersten Schock überwunden haben, geben seine Eltern ihm so viel Liebe und Annahme wie möglich. Sie vermitteln ihm das Gefühl, ein ganz normales Kind zu sein. Doch manche Probleme können sie für ihn nicht lösen.
Ich habe eine Spielzeugkiste in meinem Zimmer, aber ich kann da nichts rausholen, weil ich keine Arme und Beine habe.
Nick Vujicic lässt sich nicht entmutigen. Er lernt mit seinem Fuß zu schreiben und versucht, aus seinem Leben das Beste zu machen.
Ich spare mein Taschengeld für einen Computer.
Bis zu 40 Worte pro Minute kann er auf dem Keyboard tippen. In der Familie wird Nick ganz normal behandelt. Das ändert sich, als er in die Schule kommt. Dort wird er gehänselt und als Freak bezeichnet. Er kommt damit nicht klar, fühlt sich ausgestoßen und wird immer trauriger. Mit 10 Jahren denkt er darüber nach, sich das Leben zu nehmen.
Warum wollten Sie sich das Leben nehmen?
You know, I was dealing with a lot of ridicule and, I was comparing myself to all the other children and growing up in a Christian home, I actually didn't want to hear too much about God at times because I didn't understand why would God let this happen to me. There was no medical reason why. My brother and my sister born with arms and legs. I'm like, why me? And feeling like there's no hope or plan or future. And, my mum and dad who loved me and always was there for me, that wasn't enough. I needed peace. I needed a reason to live. And sometimes I just felt maybe giving up is the only option to end my pain.
Und wie wollten Sie sich umbringen?
Well, I wanted to drown myself in a bathtub. That was the only way that I could think of committing suicide, and I didn't want to be a burden to my parents anymore. I didn't think I'd get a job or have an education, and I thought, well, look, if my life's just going to be, burdening people and just getting ridiculed for the rest of my life, I thought this is pointless in living.
Warum haben Sie es nicht getan?
Well, the third time I rolled over in the bathtub, I'm so thankful to God that He gave me an image in my mind of my mum and dad crying at my grave and asking why, and my brother crying at my grave, and I couldn't bear that thought. And so I didn't want to leave them with any more pain than I already have inflicted, I thought. And so I decided to stay.
Ja. Vielleicht machen wir jetzt so einen kleinen Sprung, dass Sie... Es hat sich ja in Ihrem Leben nach diesem Ereignis oder nach dem Selbstmordversuch, den Sie ja dann abgebrochen haben, Gott sei Dank, unheimlich viel verändert. Was ist da in Ihrem Leben passiert? Warum haben Sie also plötzlich so eine Kehrtwende gemacht?
Well, it was a journey. Between ages 8 and 12, I was depressed. And then at 13 years old, my mum showed me a newspaper article of a man with a disability. And I looked at this man and I'm like, wow, maybe I should be thankful for what I do have. At 13, I was also then elected as school captain of my elementary school, and that gave me more confidence. But it actually was at 15 years old where I really came to revelation of, I believe, God answering me after so many years asking Him why this had happened. John chapter 9, a man was born blind, and no one knew why he was born that way. But Jesus said it was done so that the works of God will be revealed through him. And so the man gets healed, and I'm like, wow, God, if you've got a plan for a blind man, then you've got a plan for me. And I know you can give me arms and legs, and please do, but if not, I truly trust you. I need forgiveness of my sins more than arms and legs. I want peace more than arms and legs. And Lord, if you don't want to change my circumstance, I know you'll change my heart and you still have a plan for my life.
Gott hat Ihnen keine Arme und Beine gegeben, obwohl Sie ihn darum gebeten haben. Ja? Und warum halten Sie trotzdem an diesem Gott fest, der Sie also so gemacht hat?
You know, I truly believe the Bible when He says that, first of all, that it was the enemy who brought in sickness, disease, and death, and that was from the Garden of Eden, and it's not God punishing me. And what the enemy tried to use for bad, God can turn into good. Romans 8:28, all things come together for the good for those who love Him. God's grace is sufficient. He knows how much my heart can bear. And He's so good and so beautiful to me that He can actually give me joy even if I have no arms and no legs. And my joy is not on this earth. You know, having arms and legs for another 60 years or 80 years or 90 years is nothing compared to being able to be used by God this way to encourage one soul to come to heaven for eternity. And that's how I look at it. God knows best, and I thank Him that He hasn't given me arms and legs. Yet, at the same time, I do have a pair of shoes in my closet just in case He does say yes to me. Because he is a God of miracles. Yet, He knows exactly how He can use me more in the world. So, I need Him more every day. I need His grace and a personal friendship with Him. And that relationship is all that I need.
Auf YouTube gibt es einige Filme über Sie, wo man sieht, was Sie aus Ihrem Leben gemacht haben. Und da kamen immer wieder Kommentare, ich habe mir das angeguckt, da kamen immer wieder Kommentare von Leuten, die gesagt haben, wie kann dieser Mensch eigentlich sein Leben bewältigen? Und wir wollen uns das jetzt auch mal im Film angucken, weil Sie ja im Prinzip doch Ihr Leben lang auf fremde Hilfe auch angewiesen sind, dadurch, dass Sie keine Arme und Beine haben. Und was Sie trotzdem dafür alles machen können und Ihr Leben genießen können, das schauen wir uns jetzt mal gemeinsam an.
Für Nick Vujicic ist der Alltag oft eine Herausforderung. Doch er stellt sich ihr mit viel Kreativität und Willensstärke. Er ist sportlich aktiv und will alles ausprobieren. Immer wieder lotet er seine Grenzen aus und stellt überrascht fest, was ihm alles möglich ist. Er macht einen Universitätsabschluss als Finanzberater. Er lebt, trotz aller körperlichen Begrenzungen, ein Leben ohne Limit. Und er behält seine Erkenntnisse nicht für sich. Er ist ein weltweit gefragter Redner, der Millionen Menschen ermutigt, ihr Potenzial zu entdecken und auszuleben.
Es ist unglaublich, wenn man sieht, was Sie alles bisher in Ihrem Leben also auch schon bewerkstelligen konnten. Was mich besonders beeindruckt hat, ist auch die Sicherheit, mit der Sie sich im Wasser bewegen. Wie haben Sie denn schwimmen gelernt?
18 months old, my dad tells me that he put his hand under my head and just simply a little bit of support actually allowed me to float. And so I have no arms, no legs, so I'm lighter than the average 28-year-old, and as long as I have air in my lungs, I actually float. So at 6 years old, that's when I really started to swim on my own and then use my little foot to actually paddle. So, yeah.
Ich hatte vorhin Angst im Film, als ich das gesehen habe, dass Sie nicht mehr nach oben kommen, als Sie da ins Wasser gesprungen sind. Ja. Aber das funktioniert ohne Probleme. Wie machen Sie das?
You're just waiting, you know. Actually, one day I was in the ocean and I had a little scary time where a wave came and put my shirt over my head. And I felt like I was in a washing machine, and all I knew was I just had to hold my breath because eventually I'll come to the top. And my friends helped me out, but it's sometimes the way in life where sometimes you don't feel secure and you don't feel in control, but you just hold on to the promises of God, and eventually He'll bring you to the top, and you'll get another breath and strength for the next day.
Ja. Und wir sehen auch gerade das Bild, wo Sie auf dem Surfbrett sind. Also das ist ja wohl, sag ich mal, kann ich mir noch nicht mal vorstellen, dass ich das könnte. Und bei Ihnen sieht das irgendwie so mühelos, so spielerisch aus. Wie haben Sie das gemacht?
It was actually a really good day there I think it was in Waikiki Beach, actually in Hawaii, with Bethany Hamilton, who's such an awesome Christian as well. And yeah, she said, "You want to go surfing?" I'm like, "For sure." And so we had a couple coaches come in and set up these little towels on the board so I can lay down there, push me in, and then I use my head and my neck to actually get up in the wave. And it was actually lots of fun. We actually spent probably a couple hours there. Yeah.
Wenn man das so sieht, dann hat man fast den Eindruck, dass eigentlich in ihrem Leben alles möglich ist, obwohl sie keine Arme und keine Beine haben. Ne?
Yeah, I mean, there are many things still that I cannot do. I do want to go skydiving. I've been scuba diving, horseback riding, just a lot of different things. There are still things, obviously, that I cannot do. Drive a car that I'd love to do one day. But, you know, all in all, it's the same mentality as when I was a kid and I saw other kids being able to do things that I couldn't. You know, if they're riding their bikes, I would be riding my skateboard. You know, when they're playing soccer, I would be playing soccer as well, but obviously not as fast as them. And so, you know, you've got to be thankful for what you do have. Be thankful for what God has given you. And that definitely was my foundation in being just grateful instead of being angry or confused or down.
Mhm. Ich habe auf YouTube auch einen Kommentar gelesen, den ich Ihnen einfach mal so weitergeben möchte. Und zwar wollte da auch eine Zuschauerin wissen, was ist denn eigentlich, wenn die Kamera aus ist? Sie sind Ihr Leben lang ja eigentlich auch begleitet worden, haben ja also sehr viele Dinge im Leben unternommen, die dann auch gleich öffentlich gemacht worden ist. Und in dieser Aussage auf YouTube schwang so ein bisschen mit, Mensch, das kann doch nicht immer so fröhlich und so toll und so lustig sein im Leben von Nick Vujicic.
Yeah, absolutely right. You know, like I'm not a superhero. I have my ups and downs and you know, traveling 120 flights a year. Last year at least was, you know, very tiring, and speaking 270 times and you know, my drive and passion to reach out for more souls for Jesus Christ sometimes you know, gets a little overwhelming. At the same time though, yeah, I'm just like everybody else. I have good days, I have bad days, but I do enjoy watching movies and listening to music. And definitely, you know, people say, where do you want to go on vacation, you know, when you have a holiday? And I say, I just want to be in my own bed. And so it does get tiring on the road, but it's been great. But I want people to see that I am authentic just the way that I am. And no, I don't smile all the time. But, you know, what you see is what you get. And truly, the joy that I do have in my life is because of God in my life.
Und wer motiviert Sie eigentlich? Sie motivieren so viele Menschen in Ihren Reden. Und wer ist da, wenn Sie Hilfe brauchen?
Well, when I first started to speak, it actually came because I was invited to speak in front of 300 teenagers for about 7 minutes. And I didn't know exactly what to speak about. It was a public school, so you couldn't really talk about Jesus a lot. And I said, God, if you want me to do this, then please bless it. And he did. He really did. Within 3 minutes, half the girls were crying, and one girl in the middle of the room started weeping. She put up her hand and she said, thank you, thank you, thank you. No one's ever told me that, you know, they love me. No one's ever told me that I'm beautiful the way that I am. And she came and she hugged me. And that's the motivation. You know, today when we were speaking at a school here locally, you know, you see these girls crying and boys, you know, normally not paying attention at, you know, other speaking sessions, but they're really listening, you know, and even interacting and asking me questions. That's the beautiful motivation in understanding that one more soul, even, you know, now watching, you know, who feels like giving up, who feels like life is too much, who feels like God doesn't make sense. Yet to know that even though when we don't hear from God, that He is faithful and that He is always with us. If only one more soul gets encouraged, that's my motivation.
Sie haben gerade auch erzählt, dass Sie sehr viel unterwegs sind in Flugzeugen und ich weiß von Ihnen, dass Sie ein sehr humorvoller Mensch sind. Und stimmt es, dass Sie sich auch mal im Gepäckfach in einem Flugzeug haben verstecken lassen?
Yeah, I wanted to scare some people, so I got my friends to put me in the overhead compartment of the plane and stick my head out and scare people. Boo, you know. Actually, just 2 weeks ago in the United States of America, I actually dressed up in a pilot's uniform. my friend was the captain. And so I put his hat on and put his coat on and greeted the passengers as they got on the plane. So I love to have fun in my life and take, advantage of the fact that I have no arms, no legs to sometimes freak people out.
Aha, ja. Und im Auto, glaube ich, haben Sie als Beifahrer auch mal jemand an der Ampel ziemlich irritiert, ja?
Yeah, I can't exactly do it here because of my microphones, but yeah, while I was in the car, I'm in the front seat and this girl's looking at me from the outside and all she sees is my head. And I just turned my body, all the way around and she thought my head did a 360-degree spin and her face was like that. So it was really, really funny. And so I love to take those opportunities to, bring more fun in my life.
Aha. Wie wichtig ist es für Sie eigentlich, der Humor in Ihrem Leben und auch über sich selbst lachen zu können?
At the beginning, it started to be more of a coping mechanism, when kids wouldn't know exactly how to approach me, or adults as well. And so, I'm not afraid of, having some fun or not really making fun of myself, but making fun of the situation. You can't really take yourself too seriously, I believe. And so it was more of a coping mechanism thing, and then brought in through my speaking career to get people's attention, and to let them relax a little bit. Mm-hmm. Some people, when they see a man without arms and legs up on the table in front of 1,000 students, they're wondering, well, if this man, he's going to come and what? Is it going to make me feel sorry for him? I want people to know I'm cool, just like them, just, relax and we're going to have a little bit of fun. And then just as they're relaxed, then you bring in the message that you hope that they actually take away.
Sehen Sie sich auch in gewisser Weise als Botschafter für Menschen mit Behinderung an?
Me personally, I'm not a specific voice I see as an activist or someone representing the disabled. But I hope that my life and just my smile and just what I'm doing can actually inspire people to say, you know what, yeah, people with disabilities, they have something to contribute, whether it's a job or whether it's, being plugged into a social group and all that sort of thing. I just want my life to maybe be used as an example to bring more awareness, not only of the people who have no disabilities and say, wow, they have something to offer, but also the people in wheelchairs. You can give someone a wheelchair, but you need to still inspire them to do something. And so I want everybody to know that we're all wonderfully and fearfully made. So, where I can, I do bring up, also the value of life. The question of, well, if a baby's being detected with a disability, should they abort them or not? I believe that God never makes a mistake, and God's grace is sufficient through it all. And so I've been around 37 countries where, there are different ends of the spectrum where even in tribal beliefs, if a child is born with a disability, they're seen as cursed. So there are even babies being killed today because of tribal beliefs, and no one's told them anything different. So you don't get angry at those people, you just come there in love and tell them the truth. And so that's what we're able to do.
Mhm. Was ist noch Ihre Botschaft? Warum sind Sie unterwegs und warum sind Sie auf der ganzen Welt, um mit Menschen zu sprechen?
I want teenagers especially to know that the truth of your value is not determined on how you look or what you have or what you do not have. I want them to just be woken up to understand that you don't have to be like somebody else, but be you and do your best, and God will do the rest. You may not get an A or B in classes, but that's okay. And just keep on trying. When you fail, try again. Know that there is a greater plan for your life. Jeremiah chapter 29 verse 11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in the future. At the same time, I want to challenge the men of the society. Don't just concentrate on trying to make a big house if you forget to make a home. You have to be the husband to your wife. You have to be the father to your children. And, trying to encourage everybody to play their part in their role And encourage parents out there as well, you know, who can't really reach out to their teenagers. They don't know how they can penetrate the hearts of them. And so I just encourage teenagers to not give up, you know, on your parents if they're having a bad marriage, and continue to pray for them. And then parents, don't give up on your teenagers. We all need to pray for one another and come to the truth of your value, your purpose and destiny in Christ.
Wie oder was sagen Sie Menschen, jungen Menschen, die gerne das Geheimnis ihrer Ausstrahlung erfahren möchten oder die vielleicht auch gerne so sein wollen wie Sie? Was können Sie denen sagen? Was müssen sie tun?
You know, the world thinks that I have a positive attitude as this coping mechanism, and I didn't start with a positive attitude. I had an encounter with God, and when I had an encounter with God, I had heaven to look forward to. I had the fact of knowing that He's always with me, that He understands my pain. That's why I have a positive attitude. I can't go up to a kid who's dying of HIV/AIDS and say, well, just have a positive attitude, unless I can tell him, hey, God is with you. We're going to pray for a miracle. And if God heals you, great. If God doesn't heal you, the greatest miracle of all is coming to Him and knowing Him as a personal Savior and friend and going to heaven for eternity. That's the hope. You know, you can have arms and legs, but they're going to give you arthritis later on. You can have arms and legs, but you don't know what to do with them. You know, seeking the purpose for your life and finding that. Now I do have a positive attitude. That's the secret. It's Jesus. I pray every day. I have a relationship with Him. There are times where I have ups and downs, absolutely. I still cry. I still, you know, have anxious days. But I know that God never changes. His love for me is always the same. That's why I have the strength and confidence I have today.
Gibt es noch etwas, Sie haben ja schon unheimlich viel in Ihrem Leben bewerkstelligen können. Gibt es noch etwas, wo Sie sagen, das will ich unbedingt mal erreichen?
You know, I just want people to know that God loves them. That's it. That God loves them. That He's only a prayer away. And that some people who don't believe in God say, well, that's okay for you, Nick, but you know, you're just using Jesus as a coping mechanism. No, He's changed my life. I know that I was a sinner. I know that I still fail God. It's not about being good. It's about being transformed and asking for forgiveness of sins and saying, God, take over my life. I want to please you. I want to know what plans you have for me. I want people out there in the world to know that, you know, if you don't have a faith in God, you're going to go to money or different parts of life as security. But if you put your happiness in temporary things, your happiness will be temporary. The reason why I know I'm going to heaven is because Jesus rose Himself from the dead, and no one else was like Jesus. And that's the one I believe in. And He's going to raise me up. And I just hope that until between now and my last breath on earth, that I would be remaining humble, to know that everything that I have is only a gift, a borrowed gift from God. And not to become prideful in it. Oh, Nick, you're such an inspiration. I serve a great God. And that's my answer. So I want them to know to never ever give up on God, because God will never ever give up on you.
Vielen herzlichen Dank. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wenn Sie Fragen haben oder mit Nick Vujicic in Kontakt treten möchten, dann wenden Sie sich an uns. Wir leiten Ihre Anfrage gerne weiter. Wählen Sie einfach die eingeblendete Telefonnummer oder schreiben Sie eine E-Mail an tv@erf.de. Bis zum nächsten Mal im Hof mit Himmel. Wir sehen uns. Adieu.